speakers. Most of the speakers we have left are actually going to be talking about some of the specific innovative projects that they're working on that are changing the game in business. And our next speaker is Kjetil Bøhn. He's actually like us, in a former life, a humble journalist. He's moved on to bigger and better things, in this case founding a green technology company, one that works to mitigate the harmful effects of chemical fertilizers. So we're going to let him take over. Thank you so much. In all humility. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, Kjetil Bøhn. Can't hear anything?
No. Possible. Everybody wants their presentation to be bright and focusing on the positive aspects of life. Unfortunately, I have to start in the negative territory, but bear with me, it will get better after a while. Until 2000, nobody really cared about the agriculture industry, at least not in the financial community. And that's not so strange, because for 100 years, we were able to produce more food, basically meeting demand, of course, for some exceptions. And because of that, relative food prices dropped through that entire period. But in 2000, something happened. And in 2000, food prices started to increase again, and for the last decade, it has more than doubled. What is the reason for that? There's many reasons for that, but one of the reasons can be seen here. This is US wheat production over the last 50 years. And while we have been able to increase yield with 50%, it has come at a cost, because we are using now 250% of the most essential nutrition, which is nitrogen. And we have come to the point in many markets where we simply cannot just add 1 more kilo of nitrogen and get the same yield response. The soil degradation doesn't paint a prettier picture either. We have basically degraded an area of the size of China and India combined since the Second World War. And looking at water pollution, we have created, if combined, a belt that will be 1 kilometer around the equator of Dead Sea as a result of how we have run our agriculture picture. As a father, this is a picture that frightens me. I don't know how it is in other countries, but in Norway, everybody runs around talking about proteins and carbohydrates. They should really be focusing on the nutritional content of food. This is again from the US. It's salad production, it's tomato and spinach. As we can see, there is a drop in magnesium, 84%, phosphorus, 82% magnesium, 84% drop in phosphorus, and 96% drop in iron. And this is not only to do with obesity, this relates to all the major disease problems that we have: cancer, heart disease, mental disorder. So something needs to be done, both to produce enough food and to produce the right quality food. Fortunately, there's a lot of companies who is working with it, not only Agrinas, also the large mineral fertilizer companies, the large pesticide company, and of course Yara that was presenting here earlier today. But one extremely important aspect that has been ignored and overlooked for a very long time is soil fertility and the microbial life in soil. The most essential part of biology is the photosynthesis. That's basically where the plant takes CO2 and transforms it into energy, into sugar. And the plant takes that sugar and sends 60% of it out through its root system into the soil. And the plant is not stupid. It doesn't do that for fun. It does that to get anything in return. And what it gets in return is microbial life that take nutrition and move it back to the plant. So how important is this microbial ecosystem for modern agriculture? I realize that the slide behind me is slightly on the technical side, but bear with me, I will try to explain it to you. This is a research done by the Washington State University, and it compares soil that has been used for cultivation for a period of time with neighboring soil. And the first column here shows the drop in organic matter. Organic matter is really where in the soil that we store nutrition and is what makes the soil structure right. The next 4 columns are enzymes. Enzymes produced by microbial life. These enzymes are those that take the nutrition and deliver it to the plant. And here's a decrease in 40 to 90%. And when those enzymes are not present in the soil, we have to use a lot more mineral fertilizer to be efficient. Because of this drop in soil fertility, the reality is today that 50% of all the mineral fertilizer used on a global scale will never ever benefit the plant. Nitrogen will oxidize, become a greenhouse gas 300 times more potent than CO2. Potassium will leach out, phosphorus will get stuck in the soil. And don't get me wrong, mineral fertilizer are one of the most important inventions of the last century, and we will be between 3 and 4 billion people less on this planet without it. But we simply have to use it more efficiently. At Greenhouse, we produce a set of biological products, and I don't have the time today to explain in detail what we are doing, but we are basically increasing soil fertility. And put simplistically, what we are doing is to try to make other input factors like mineral fertilizer more efficient. We are trying to take the columns that you saw, push them back, and hopefully over on the other side. I will show you, before I end this, I will show you some results of what we can do with these technologies. This is the UK last year, 55 trials in potatoes, 14% yield increase in average. Not a staggering number, but these are some of the highest yielding potato fields in the world, taking the yield from 66 to 75 tons and so on, 10 tons more per hectare. And to give you a reference, average yield potato in Norway is 30 tons, Ukraine 20, and Russia 20. And it has something to do with quality. The black spots that you see behind me on some of these potatoes are basically fungus. But when we place a good microbial ecosystem in the soil, that fungus is outcompeted for space and nutrition. Malaysia paints the same picture. This is a scientific study on Ganoderma. Again, a fungus that are now threatening 40% of the palm oil plantations in Malaysia. And if those palm oil plantations are ruined, they're going to cut down more forests to plant new palm oil to keep production. From a financial perspective, we probably shouldn't be engaged in Africa. We should probably stick to the UK, Netherlands, and Spain. But our technology most likely has the highest relative impact, both on yield and human life in Africa. So we have chosen to engage in a number of projects in Africa. And it makes me feel proud when a study comes back and it states that we have unprecedented results in the country. And of course, this is coming from a low point, but it shows the tremendous force of nature. And then we have Mexico, which is really our home market, where we have commercial customers that today cultivate more than 1.5 million hectares. And to give you a reference, that is about 4 times the entire Norwegian agriculture industry if you look away from grassland production. 6 years ago, I don't know if I can even say this, the University of Guanajuato, it's closest I get, ran a water efficiency trial using our product, and it showed a water efficiency increase between 33 and 58%. That is important, knowing that 70% of the fresh water on this planet are used for agricultural purposes. Equally important, in my mind, is that they also studied the soil before and after these 2 crop cycles. And what it showed was an increase in organic matter, increase in available nutrition in the soil. So with a biological strategy, you don't deplete the soil, you build it, and you store carbon, and you can produce even more in the 3rd season. But having these results, having these technologies is not really enough. It's only half of it. And you have to build a vehicle to take that to market. And my role as a founder, I guess, was maybe to set aside some of my own personal aspiration and try to find the best both human and financial resources to build that vehicle. So we went to the person that we thought would be the best, Dr. Torleif Enger, who was then just stepped down as the CEO of Yara and was still the president of the International Fertilizer Union. And he was skeptical, like everybody is, and I guess many of you are, that this could really be true. So he made his own due diligence, but he came back after a couple of months, and he joined us both as an investor and our chairman, and since then we have not really looked back. And as I said, we have built now a company, 300 employees in 14 countries. We had a turnover last year of $28 million, a figure that we think we're going to triple almost this year. Brings me down to the end of my presentation. Part of the reason for our development is this. In April last year, the Mexican President Calderón announced a 10-year program to increase agriculture production in Mexico in a sustainable way. This program, often referred to as the second Green Revolution, of course the first one came also from Mexico, has the ambition to transform Mexican agriculture, the subsidy program, covering a staggering 14 million hectares, into sustainable farming practices by implementing biological strategies. It's an extreme bold move, and it's the first time a country has really gone from talking about sustainability to doing something about it in a scale that really matters. And Agrinos has been chosen as the main supplier to this program. That brings me back to where I started, our vision, and based on our results and this contract with the Mexican government, we believe that we either have to stick to this vision or find somebody else to run this company. So I leave it to your judgment to decide if you believe that this is possible based on my short presentation. And if anyone wonder how big-scale professional farming in Norway look like, this is it. Thanks a lot for the opportunity. Thank you.
So often when we talk about sustainability in business, the conversation tends to get lost in abstraction. And so I, for one, am very excited about some of these practical ways in which businesses are managing to address some of these important social needs and also turn a profit.